All right, so the next section we have here, 10.2, pretty important section, guys. It's talking about personal loans and interest. I think these problems are pretty relevant because they at least deal with money, and money is something that's probably very near and dear to all of us, right? At least it's something we can relate to. Okay, so let's take a look here, see what we got. And it says the money the bank or the lender is willing to lend you is the amount of the credit. We usually refer to that as the principal, okay? So let me see, there we go. Principal of the loan. The security or collateral is anything in value pledged by the borrower that the lender may sell or keep if the borrower does not repay the loan. Um, Guys, a lot of times if you've heard of title loans or payday loans, do me a favor, don't ever do these things, but this is where title loans and payday loans kind of come into play. All right, let's take a look at the next part. So what else do we have here? Bankers sometimes grant loans without security, but they require the signature of one or more persons called co-signers. Guys, even if, unless you are married and you trust your spouse a whole lot, don't ever be a co-signer. If you co-sign for a loan, the bank can come after you if the other person doesn't pay it. And let's see, okay, a personal note states the terms and conditions of the loan. Interest is the money the borrower pays for the use of the lender's money. And simple interest. Okay, so this is the most important part. Here is our formula, okay? So simple interest formula is right here. It is very simple. In fact, all we're going to do is multiply. To find the interest, we're going to take the principal, the rate, and the time. Guys, the time is going to be given to me in years unless otherwise specified, okay? So let me kind of keep scrolling down here. And let's see, okay, so it says right here, the principal, that's the amount of money we're borrowing or it's being lent, okay? The rate is going to be the interest, so it'll be a percent, but we're going to change it to a decimal. The time, T, is going to be the number of days, months, or years, okay? Time is expressed in the same period as the rate. So if it's 2% a month, the time should also be in months, okay? Typical rate, it means the annual rate. So usually it's going to be the annual rate, unless it's otherwise stated. Principal and interest are going to be in dollars, okay? All right. Okay, so next piece here. The most common type of simple interest is called ordinary interest. We're going to use something called the banker's rule. Okay, so guys, the banker's rule basically refers to our time. So in terms of the time, okay, unless it's a year, if they're giving you a month, we're going to say a month has 30 days, a year has 12 months, and if we're doing this in days, it's going to be 360 days, okay? Let's see. It says when computing ordinary interest using a simple interest rate, if the time given is in months, we're going to write it as 5 over 12. Again, 5 over 12 because 5 months out of 12 months, okay? If they're given to us in days, like 73 days, we're going to go 73 over 360. I know usually we say 365, but this is the banker's rule. This is what the banks will use, okay? So, let's take a look at our first problem, see if we can't figure it out. Sherry needs to borrow $6,200 to replace the roof on her home. From her credit union, she obtains a 30-month loan with an annual interest rate of 5.75%. Okay, it says calculate the interest she's charged on the loan. So first thing, guys, I'm going to write down my formula. I equals P times R times Q. Okay, so over here on the side, P is the amount of money that we're going to borrow. In this case, Sherry is borrowing $6,200. Okay. Her interest rate is 5.75% as a decimal. I'm moving my decimal 2 spaces to the left, so 0.0575. My T here is 30 months. So when I start to take my formula and do my little plug and chug, okay, I'm going to go I equals 6,200, okay, times 0.0575, okay, times 30. But guys, I'm going to write this as 30 over 12. Why? There's 12 months in a year, okay? So now I'm going to grab my calculator right here. Let me move this over. Clear it out. Okay, so I'm going to take 6,200 times 0.0575 times, I want you to notice how I'm doing this, times 30 equals, now I need to divide that by 12. Okay. So what I'm coming up with is $891. $891.25. Okay, that's the interest. Okay, now there is a part B to this problem. Part B says determine the amount, principal plus interest. Sherry's going to pay the credit union at the end of the 30 months to pay off her loan. So remember, Sherry borrowed $6,200. The bank is charging her $891.25 simply for the reason that they lent her that money. So now we need to add those numbers in. So let's add them up. So now I'm just going to add my 6,200 equals, okay, so my total is $7,091.25. This is her total amount, okay? All right. Okay, so now let's take a look at the next couple problems, guys. These problems here are just basic kind of plug and chug type problems. Okay, so I equals P times R times T. All right, it says, using the simple interest formula, find the interest on the following loans. I'm only looking for the interest here, okay? So it gives me all the pieces that I need. So my principal is 6,742, oops, too much, let's clean that up. Okay, $6,742.75, okay? Times, let's see, my interest rate, 0.0605, okay? 90 days. Guys, if it's in days, it's going to be 90 over 360. Okay. Once again, I'm going to grab my calculator here, and I'm just going to multiply, okay? So let me just see if I can make this a little bit smaller, maybe. I'll have to calculate that. Let's see, what was our 67.42 and 75 cents? 67.42 and 75 cents times 0.0605 times 90, okay, equals, divided by 360 equals, okay, so guys, because I'm dealing with money, I'm always going to round everything to the nearest penny. So penny means I'm going to have two decimal places. So the number to the right of an 8 is a 4, so that 8's going to be the same, so $101.98. So our interest is $101.98. $101.98. Boom, there we go. Okay, let's try the next one. I equals P times R times T. Okay. Here's my P. $13.72 and 11 cents. Okay, I want you to notice something here. My interest is given to me in months, and so is my time. Okay, if my interest is given to me in months and so is my time, I don't need to do anything here in terms of changing my problem. Okay, so let me go ahead and multiply this out. So I'm going to take 1 3/8. So let's figure out, first off, 1 3/8. Guys, I'm going to change this to a improper fraction. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 more is 11. So 11 divided by 8, that's what it would be as a decimal. I'm sorry, still with my percent, and I'm going to move my decimal point 2 spaces to the left, so 0.01375. Let me bring this down. 0.01375. And I'm going to multiply by 6. I don't need to go to 6 over 12 because they're both given to me in months, okay? So now we can go ahead and just multiply 1372 and 11 cents times 0.01375 times, what was it, 6? And so again, if I'm going to round to the nearest penny, $113.20. $113.20, okay? So, one quick second here. All right, so guys, let's see. This problem was actually the first one. I just didn't do it. I had copied it in later, so you'll probably see this one at the end of those other two. But let's go ahead and finish this problem. So I equals P times R times T. Okay, so we can go ahead. This is going to be a straight plug and chug type problem. It's 425 times, as a decimal, that's going to be 0.0192. Okay. This is already given to me in years, so I'm just going to multiply it by 6. I will grab my calculator right here. 425 times 0.0192 times 6. So $48.96. Okay. And let me pause that real quick. Okay. So now let's take a look at these next couple of problems. It says, use the simple interest formula to find the missing piece. So remember, my interest formula is I equals P and R and T. If you notice in this problem, the one that we're missing is the R. Okay. So here's the I, here's the P, and here's the T. So where the letter I used to be, I'm going to write the number $82.80. The P is going to be my $17.25, okay, times R, because I don't know what that is. My T is going to be 3. Okay. So guys, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and multiply those two numbers together. 17.25 times 3, 51.75. Okay, so now we have $82.80 equals, what was it? 51.75 with the letter R. Okay, since I'm trying to solve for the letter R, what I need to do here is divide both sides by the 51.75. Okay. All right, so let me grab my calculator again. $82.80 divided by 51.75. And my R is going to be 0.016. 0.016. There is my interest rate, okay? All right, let's try to do the same exact thing for this next problem, okay? First thing I'm going to do right here, guys, on the side, I equals P times R times T. Okay. So right now, we don't know what the P is. We know the I, we know the T, and we know the R. Okay. So where the I used to be, I'm going to write the number 175. Okay. I don't know what the letter P is. My interest rate is 6%, so 0.06. This is going to be 5 out of 12 because it's 5 months. Okay. So guys, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to do that piece right there, okay? So let's take a look how we're going to do this. I'm going to take my calculator. 0.06 times 5 equals, divided by 12 equals, okay, so 0.025. Okay. Since I'm trying to solve for the letter P, we have to divide by 0.025 on both sides. And let me take my calculator again. 175 divided by 0.025 and 7,000. And that is, again, my principal, right? There we go. All right. So again, we got another one, very similar, okay? Very similar. All right, first thing I'm gonna do again, write down my formula. Okay, so let's see, what do we have and what are we missing? We're missing the T. Okay. So where the I used to be, we're gonna write 124.49. The P is the $957.62. Okay. My interest rate is 0.065. Again, I don't know the T. So just like we did earlier, I'm going to multiply those two together. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. 957.62 times 0.065. Okay. So I'm coming up with 62.2453. 62.2453. 62.2453 times T equals the 124.49. Just like we've been doing, we're going to divide. So guys, one thing I do want to mention as I'm doing these problems, I know I'm using my calculator a lot. I'm obviously going to be using my calculator a lot. But the other thing I'm doing, I'm still writing down the numbers that I'm dealing with, okay? I'm not trying to leave everything on the calculator. I'm not trying to leave everything in my head. I'm writing them down because I'm less likely to make a mistake. Okay? So that's my recommendation to you. Write them down. Okay, so look at the number that I'm coming up with. Guys, we're going to go ahead and round this to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to say here T is going to be 2 years, okay? And the reason why I know this is going to be in years is otherwise this would have been given to me in months or something like that, okay? My R is always going to be annual unless it was otherwise specified. So if you notice, one of the problems that we had done this one earlier right here. My R was given to me by month, but we don't have to worry about that, okay? In the rest of the problems, so that was the only one that I kind of had like that. All right. Let's take a look at these next couple of problems. It says, Philip agrees to lend $850 to his friend Joe to help Joe travel to Cincinnati to attend a family wedding. 9 months later, Joe repaid the original $850 plus $51 in interest. What annual rate of interest did Joe pay to Philip? Okay, so look what the question is asking me to find. It's asking me to find the annual rate of interest. That's the one that we're looking for, okay? So let's see. We already know that how much he paid in interest was $51, okay? He borrowed $850, okay? We don't know the interest rate, and it took him 9 months to pay it, okay? So guys, I'm going to write that 9 again is 9 over 12. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the R alone. I'm going to multiply this and that together. So let me take my calculator, 850 times 9, divide it by 12. Okay, $637.5 or 637.5? 37.5. Now we're going to divide by that same number on both sides. Okay. So let me grab my calculator here. 51 divided by 637.5 is, okay, so as an annual interest rate, 0.08, that's really the same thing as 8%, okay? Good, very good. One quick second here. All right. Now, let's take a look at the next problem. Okay, it says, to obtain money for new glasses, Gilbert decides to pawn his trumpet. I don't know how many of us have been to a pawn shop. It's kind of old school, but let's see. Fonz's trumpet. Gilbert borrows $240, and after 30 days, he gets his trumpet back by paying the pawnbroker $288. Again, the question is asking me for the annual rate of interest. Okay, so this problem is similar to the one we did before, in that we are looking for this number. Okay, the first thing we need to figure out is we need to figure out what is the I in this case. So think about how much money he borrowed. He borrowed $240, and he paid back $288. So in order for me to find my interest, what I need to do is I need to subtract those two numbers, 288 minus 240. So he paid $48 in interest, okay? So my interest number is going to be $48, right? That's how much more we paid. Now the money that we borrowed was the 240, okay, times the R, which is what we're trying to find. And this was over a period of, let me see, this was over a period of 30 days. So I'm going to write 30 over 360. So just like we did before, guys, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this one here and these right here. So leave my R alone for right now. I'm going to take my calculator, and let's take 240 times 30 and divide it by 360. Okay, so I'm coming up with 20. So I'm going to divide both sides by 20. Okay. And so I take my calculator, 48 divided by 20, okay, 2.4 is what I'm coming up with. Okay. 2.4. Now guys, that's the number written as a decimal. If I was going to write it as a percent, look what we did before here. When we had 0.08, we moved it 2 spaces to the right, so we got 8%. If we move this decimal point 2 spaces to the right, look at the interest rate we're coming up with. 240%. Okay? 240% is a massive interest rate. Okay? A massive interest rate to pay. So 240%, just to sort of give it to you in sort of in context. Okay, 240% would be something like, I'm going to just kind of move my notes over to the right, so let me see if I can do that. Well, here we go. Okay, so 240% would be something like, suppose I lent you $1,000 today. Okay, today is the 4th of February of 2020. Suppose on the 4th of 2021, I wanted you to pay me back. Well, number one, you're going to give me the $1,000 that I gave you. In addition to those $1,000, the interest that you're going to give me is $2,400. That's just because I was nice enough to lend you $1,000 today. So the total that you would have to pay back would be $3,400. That's a lot of money, isn't it? Okay, so guys, no pawn shops, no payday loans, no title shops, right? Nothing like that. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at this next one here. And if anybody knows a little bit about mob movies, I'll let you all look up who Jimmy Conway and Maury are. But it says, Jimmy Conway lent Maury $4,000 to make a commercial for his toupee shop. 60 days later, Jimmy collected a total of $8,000 from Maury. What annual rate was he charging Maury for his commercial? Okay, just like we did before, we're still looking for that annual rate. Okay? All right, so let's see. The amount of money that he borrowed was $4,000. He had to pay him $8,000. So how much did he pay in interest? Well, $8,000 minus $4,000. He paid him $4,000 in interest. Okay. So let's do the same thing here. $4,000 equals 4,000 times our rate, which we don't know, over a period of 60 days. So that's going to be 60 over 360. So guys, again, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply here. So I'm going to take 4,000 times 60 and divide it by 360. Okay. And then I'm going to take this number and I'm going to divide it by 4,000. Okay. So look, let's go like this. 4,000 divided by, oh man, I already forgot what it was. Let me see. So 4,000 times 60 divided by 360. Okay, 666. Okay, so let's go 4,000. Oops, too many. Divided by 666. Point a whole bunch of sixes like that. And maybe throw in a 7. Okay, so guys, again, I'm doing some rounding off here. So again, I'm going to round this up to 6. Okay. So the number I'm coming up with is 6 equals R, just like we did before. I need to change that decimal to a percent. Remember, my decimal point's right here. So if I go 2 spaces to the right, look what he's charging them. He's charging them a total of 600% interest, okay? That is a lot of interest. Right? Okay, so let's take a look at what else we have here. It says a discount note is a loan for which the interest is paid at the time the borrower receives the loan. The interest charged in advance is what we call the bank discount. And let's take a look. It says Sigrid took out a $500 loan using a 10% discount note for a period of 3 months. And the question says, Part A, the interest she must pay to the bank on the date she receives the loan. Okay, so look, we're going to go I equals P times R times T. Okay. And let's see if we can't figure this out. So I equals, P is 500, that's how much money she's borrowing. Interest rate is 10%, so 0.10. Our time is 3 months, so it's going to be 3 over 12. Let's go ahead and see if we can't figure this thing out. So, oops. It's back. And here we go. Okay, so let me get my calculator, clear this. So we need 500 times 0.10 equals times 3 equals divided by 12 equals 12.5. Okay, so 12.5. That means $12.50. So in order to get that $500, she actually has to pay him the $12.50 at the beginning. Okay, that's my answer for Part A. Now Part B says the net amount of money she's going to get from the bank. Well, let's put it this way. She's going to get $500, but she has to give him $12.50. So how much of that is she really going to get? We're going to say, well, what's 500 minus $12.50? She's actually only going to get $487.50. That's the amount of money she's actually going to collect. Okay. Now, the next part here says, what's the actual rate of the interest loan? Okay, guys, what they mean by the actual rate is she paid them $12.50, but the amount of money that she actually collected was $487.50. So in sort of using my I equals P times R times T, we're going to say, okay, well, we're paying $12.50. But the amount of money that we're actually getting is not $500. It's really $487.50. We don't know what the interest rate is. I know it's close to 10%, but it's not exact. My time is still going to be the 3 out of the 12 months. Okay. So again, I'm going to do kind of similar to what we did earlier. Let me move this over a little bit and down. And so I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to take that $487.50. I'm going to multiply it by 3. I'm going to divide it by 12. Okay. So 121.875. So 1. Oh, come on. Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to get my pen to work. There we go. 121.875. Okay. With my R. That's my 1250. So now I'm going to divide these numbers out. And so let's grab our calculator. 1250 divided by 121.875. And if I multiply that by 100, okay, and so guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and round this one to 2 decimal places, just so we get the practice of it. So if I'm going to go to 2 decimal places, that's the number, that 5. I'm going to either leave it alone or I'm going to round it. If I look to the right, since that number is a 6, that 5 will go up. So I'm going to say 10.26 would be my interest rate. So R is 10.26%. There we go. Okay. And that, guys, is 10.2.